Oh, well, hello there. Welcome. Didn't expect you to show up in my room like this. All right. All right. What's up? What is up, YouTube? Um, I don't know. I'm just in a good mood. What are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? All right. So I want to make a little video here for you guys on a topic that is not exactly semen retention related, although being that this is a huge part of my life, that I'm very committed to this, and it's radically transformed, all areas of my life and continues to. So it is a semen retention video, but I want to get on to a topic that isn't directly related to it, but it's indirectly related. Let's put it that way. So if you guys have been on this path for a while, and what do I mean by a while? I'd say, I don't know, anything upwards of like a month is what I would consider to be a while, months, several months in a row, year or more, something like that. Something that you've never done before. Let's put it that way. Something that is challenging, kind of like, let's say in the gym, you hit a new personal record, you hit a new record on the bench press or the squat or something. That would be a significant amount of weight for you. Maybe for somebody else that's lightweight, but for you it's a huge deal. That's what I mean. It's all relative, what a significant streak really, really is. But significant enough for you to notice some pretty massive shifts in the way that you think and the way you operate. And more importantly, in your ability to read people and situations, your ability to feel into people's energy. And I've mentioned this in other videos. As far as I'm concerned, the practice of semen retention, when really taken seriously and done for the right reasons, really brings our psychic powers online. And this is something that I believe very strongly, is that, we talk about things like being psychic as if it's either in the realm of pseudoscience and it isn't real, or it's fantasy, or, there are actual CIA documents where the CIA studied this stuff extensively, and we're actually using people to remote view targets, so there is actual, scientific basis to this. It's not, and there have been some studies too that prove that certain people do literally have these abilities. And then of course, if you are a believer in the word of God and the scripture, the Holy Bible, then naturally you believe in the reality of psychic abilities, because you're reading the words of prophets. How did Noah know there was a flood coming, right? God told him. So in modern terminology, we'd say he was a psychic. In the old terminology, we'd call him a prophet. What those two things mean is very, very similar, right? So those of us who practice this retention, we're cultivating very, very powerful energy. We're retaining it. And that energy is moving its way from our root to our crown. And it's not an automatic process, by the way. I mentioned this in other videos, but like the energy can get stuck there. So this is why if you're on retention, it is very, very important to be mindful about your diet and your lifestyle. You have to move your body. You have to take care. You have to take very good care of your body, your physical temple. And movement and breath and conscious breathing and creative outlets, create things. Like I'm creating this content. If I'm not creating this content, I'd probably be playing guitar, working on that. I just got back from a shift, my first shift at a new job actually. So it's like I'm creating income, when I'm there. I'm creating new connections. I'm in creation mode. Like, we have to move this energy. It can't just sit there. So when the energy moves, it starts to make its way from our root to our crown. It moves up the spinal column. And as it does that, it starts to align and heal all parts of us. So there's a lot of, information out there about like the chakra system, which is just one perspective on the human body. Chinese medicine talks about the meridian system, these meridians, and even a lot of Western doctors give a lot of credence to that, and there's a lot of parallels too. I mean, as science advances more and more, we're realizing the ancients, the Ayurvedics and the Chinese and the Taoists, they knew some things, okay? So there are these energy centers in the body. They do exist. And your root chakra being the root. I mean, think about that. Everything comes from there, no pun intended. That energy is very powerful. And if it stays in that lower region, then what we end up experiencing is imbalance. We end up experiencing a lot of addictive behaviors. We get addicted to the corn, to sex, and if we're not getting enough of that, then maybe we lean on things like alcohol or weed, or we overeat to try and relax. We have all these ways of trying to deal with this like fire energy that comes from the root. But when we retain and we are maintaining a very healthy lifestyle, that energy starts to circulate throughout the whole system, and it starts to charge the whole system. And when that energy makes its way up to your brain, to your crown, that's when you start really turning on a lot of faculties that were dormant. You always had those abilities. So what I'm trying to say is that I think human beings in general have these abilities. It's just that they're not all unlocked. So, I could compare it, say, to music, because I've been a music teacher for many years, and I tell this to a lot of people. A lot of people say, I'm just not musical. Everybody's musical. Your heart beats. That's a pulse. That's a rhythm. Walking is a rhythm. Talking involves is almost a musical sort of thing. And everybody responds to music. So nobody isn't musical. That's a myth. It's just not that everybody has cultivated the ability to play an instrument or sing. But anybody could. I'm very confident about that. And I feel the same way about psychic abilities, prophetic abilities. These are things that lay dormant. There's a lot of talk about this quote unquote junk DNA. Google this if you don't know about this. But, modern science says that humans generally use like 4 to 6% of our DNA, and the rest of it they call junk DNA. And I find that hysterical. And I think that really what that suggests is that we're, as a species, living up to about 4 to 6% of our true potential. So retainers, especially long-term retainers, I think that percentage starts to increase a little bit. Maybe we're up 7-8%. I don't have any statistics. I can't prove this to you, but this is just a feeling I have. At least it feels that way for me. It almost feels like I'm developing superpowers, except they're not really super. I think they should be the norm. If more people knew about this, if more people did this, this would be normal. More people would be turned on, tuned in, like people used to take LSD, what was the saying? The Timothy Leary saying was like, turn on, tune in, drop out, well, that's good advice, turn on all of your faculties, tune in to what's true and what's real, and drop out of the matrix. That'd be my version of that. But of course, I'm not talking about doing it with drugs, because that's a crutch. And it's the exact opposite, actually. It's not about what you do, it's about what you don't do, and that's what really turns you on in a whole new kind of way. So that being said, as we develop these abilities, we start to notice more things. We start to notice good and bad things about the world we live in. You know, it becomes very apparent that this matrix thing, this simulation thing, this sort of human farming, this attention harvesting rituals that happen through the screens, through the news, through the media, through Hollywood, all very real. You know, the poisoning of the food system, the pharmaceutical industry, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to get too detailed about this or I'll get flagged, but I think you guys already know what I mean. This stuff's very real, and we're confronted with this, and we have to kind of deal with it. And so what's generally always happening in the media is we're always being given something to fear off in the future. So this is a pattern I've noticed. You've probably noticed it too, but if you haven't, I'm going to point this out a little bit more. There's a pattern where anything that we are told is out of our control, we're encouraged to fear. So fear of uncertainty, fear of potential future events. It's like, why would somebody go to the doctor and take a sharp thing in their arm that has been, you know, poorly vetted and studied and was rushed into production and could be very risky? Why would they take that risk? Well, because they're afraid of something that might happen in the future and they're trying to prevent it. That's how they sell you on that. That's how they sell you on so many things in the medical industry, is like, well, you want to avoid this, so take this, right? There's a word for it. It's called demand engineering. It's another thing you could look up if you don't know about this. It's really important to know about this because it's kind of the basis of a lot of our economy is engineered demand for products that nobody actually needs. Sunscreen being a great example. Okay, humans have evolved living in the sun. And then suddenly somebody comes up with a product to block it and says the sun is harmful, it's going to kill you. And then people believe it and they're afraid of death. They're afraid of uncertainty. They're afraid of getting sick. So they put these chemicals on their body that actually, if they were to research those chemicals, they'd learn that those chemicals are even more dangerous than the sun is, empirically, is factually, like just period. Like they just are. The sun is very healing, but a lot of people can't really deal with the sun because they have atrophied their ability to do that by always blocking themselves from it, by being inside too often. And then when they are outside, they wear sunscreen. So their skin hasn't learned how to deal with the sunlight. The same thing happens to somebody that's starved for a long time. If you take somebody that's starved for weeks on end, you feed them a huge cheeseburger, they're going to get sick. You know, it's not that the cheeseburger is necessarily bad. It's just that they're not acclimated to that, right? So we're always being given something off in the future to fear. And those things are generally things that we're told are out of our control. The war on drugs. What are we going to do? This problem's out of control. Well, the government's going to come to the rescue. The legal system's going to come to the rescue. Oh, we've got a pandemic. What are we going to do? Well, the government is going to come to the rescue and all the experts are going to come to the rescue. Don't worry, we got you. You know, the war on terror, all of these wars. There's guys in caves in the Middle East plotting to kill you and your family. What are we going to do about it? Well, we got to gather the troops and send them and invade countries and steal their resources and all this terrible stuff based off of these fear-based lies. Okay? So I'm finally going to get to the real point of this video before it goes on too long. There's a lot of talk right now about October 4th. If you're tuned into any of the kind of truther-related content, which there's so much of these days, I'm sure you've heard about this. They're going to do this like testing of this alert thing. A lot of people are worried about the number 5 and then the letter G. A lot of people are worried about EMF frequencies. A lot of people are worried about the sharp things. A lot of people are worried about the reason for the sharp thing. I mean, just, I could go on and on. So here's the real point of the video. Okay, guys, and this is my perspective. Take it with a grain of salt. Use your own discernment and your own intuitive faculties to sort of vet whether this resonates with you as truth or not, because I can't sit here and claim to know for sure. I'm telling you what I intuit about all of this. So here's what I think is really happening. I think what's really going on is that there is a massive rectification underway. Things are actually improving. The earth is actually in the process of healing itself. The sun is doing things that it wasn't doing 50 years ago. Good things. Things that the media and some experts might tell you are very dangerous and scary, but they're actually very good things. They are healing things. They are helping us recover these abilities that have been sort of crushed through all of these systems, the food system, the pharmaceutical system, the media, the Hollywood, all of it, right? We've been so distracted and dumbed down and poisoned for so long that we don't even really know what we're capable of. But there's something going on that is reminding us of what we're really capable of. And when we engage in a practice like retention, and when we start cleansing our bodies and detoxing and living holistically healthy lifestyles and exercising and being pure and righteous and following God's law, all of these things accelerate what's already happening naturally. So what I foresee happening is that those of us who are aligning ourselves with righteousness and are doing our best to be good people, essentially, we are entering a much, much more advantageous situation collectively, while people who are doing the opposite are basically on a highway to hell. And I believe that there is a splitting of worlds, and there is some metaphysical stuff going on here that I can't even describe to you guys, but there are like dimensions going on. And it's like we, as righteous people, as chosen ones, if you will, are entering into this beautiful new phase of life on earth, while the other people are being pulled into a sort of hellish realm. And right now is a period where people are all being given the opportunity to choose which world they want to be a part of. You can either be a part of the matrix, of the synthetic, of the thing where you have to take the thing, you have to take the mark, you have to take the chip, you have to the social credit score, the smart cities, blah, 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 blah. You're either going to align with that, or you're going to align with the real, organic, natural, God-created world. And that means living by God-given principles, righteous principles. You have a choice. We all have a choice. And that choice that we make now and each day of the week is going to either take us into this heavenly expression of planet Earth or the hellish one. And both things are going to happen at the same time. But I don't think that those of us who are righteous and pure and following this narrow path, we have nothing to be afraid of. All of these things that are pushed on us, October 4th, nothing's going to happen, you guys. Nothing's going to happen to us unless you really believe it will. Then maybe you will manifest that. And that's part of the lesser magic these people are obsessed with, is harvesting our collective consciousness and getting us to fear certain events. That makes those events more likely to unfold. So we need to disengage with that stuff completely. Put all of our attention on heavenly things, on righteous things. Invest in ourselves. Retain that energy. Allow ourselves to expand and grow on every possible level and become assets in this new world that is in a birth process right now. And birth is a messy, painful process. So that's why we are going to see some messy, painful things. And we already have. We've been seeing those things, and we're probably going to see more of them. But as conscious people, as God's people, we understand this is the birthing process, and it's actually beautiful. There might be some pain involved, but at the end, there's new life. There's new opportunity. There's a whole new world, and it's beautiful, and it's something to celebrate and look forward to. So, probably the longest video I've ever made on here. If you're still with me, you guys are awesome. I love you guys. All right, that's enough from me. Signing out.